Chapter approved, brand new points coming up. Let's look how it's affected the Tyranids. Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for Twisted Dice, and I'm back with some more Tyranid content for you today. We're going to break down the brand new chapter approved points and particularly how they affect the Tyranids. So there's loads and loads of numbers in there. What I've done today for you is broken it down so you get exactly what you need to know and the effects that it's going to change on your particular armies. So before we get started, if you could just take 2 seconds to give us a big old thumbs up. Particularly if you like the video, it helps out loads. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to Twisted Dice for all your Tyranid goodness, as well as loads of other 40k stuff as well. We've got tons of bits and pieces coming out the channel. There's never been a better time to be a subscriber, and it just helps out tons. It's free, so just do that for us. That would be brilliant. Right, anyway, let's jump in there and talk about the points, because there's not loads and loads, but there's some key stuff in here, and I wanted to cover it. So I'm going to start off with the points increases. So these are the dreaded nerfs, so to speak, and there's been a lot talked about this in the preparation for this book, because of course at the moment Tyranids, as I expected and as I told you would, are absolutely riding roughshod across the meta, destroying all that comes in front of them and actually proving to be one of the best armies out there at the moment. So with that obviously comes quite a lot of high profile, and the spotlight goes on them pretty hard, which means that everybody is worried that some of those beloved Tyranid units are going to see those hefty points increases and a bit of a nerf. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. And actually, on the whole, we've got off pretty good. But I've got to say really well done to Games Workshop, because they have hit some of our better units and given them some moderate points increases, which hopefully will maybe put them in line, because actually, ultimately, what we want is a balanced game. So let's start off with, there are 2 points increases that we've seen, just the 2. And of course, let's start off with the beautiful and beloved, annoying, frustrated, however you want to call them, the Hive Guard, the key element to majority of our competitive lists. And yes, they did see a points increase, but unlike those troll comments that said they were going to go up to like 75 points plus a model, that's not the case. They have gone up to 50 points a model, which will mean that your unit will go up to 300 points for a unit of 6 from 270 before. So that is a quite a points increase, but it's not enough, so we don't take them. So I don't think this is going to affect your Hive Guard on the whole. Maybe if you really wanted to take 3 whole units of 6, then maybe that starts to impact a little bit, but I don't think many people were doing that. So on the whole, you know, 1-2 units, I don't think you're impacted too much. And I think it's a fair increase for a unit that is one of the best units out there in the game, maybe in the top 5 overall. So I think that's a fair points increase from Games Workshop, and well done there. But definitely a few extra points on the Hive Guard. The second unit that we've got here is the Dimacaron, however you want to call it. The beloved Forge World nasty combat creature that saw a lot of love since the recent, well not recent now, but since the latest Forge World update. And these guys have been doing some work for us. They were very, very good at the beginning of 9th edition. They tailed off a little bit. They saw some points increases, some changes in the meta made them slightly less effective. But recently with the Crusher Stampede, we've seen them come back into fruition quite a lot. But unfortunately with chapter approved, it's obviously printed a little while ago, there's a little bit of a lag, but actually it's probably not a bad thing, because these are pretty strong, but they have seen quite a big points increase. They have gone up to 280 points. That is an increase of 25 points per model, per Dimacaron, which is quite hefty, and I think maybe that is enough to make them not necessarily something that you're going to put in every list. They're still good, they still will get their points back a lot of the time, but that's a lot of points, so maybe it makes you second guess whether you're going to take a Dimacaron in your list. So, but Other than that, there were no Forge World units hit. I was petrified that the Barb Turagil and the Scythe Turagil would take a beating, and maybe even the Harridan, but actually they stayed clear, which is good because the Barb Turagil is amazing. If you're not trying that out, make sure you do, because he's an insane unit. And when the Crusher Stampede is just absolutely S tier. So, but I'm really pleased they were not touched. That really was a good thing. But that is all for the points increases. So now we can go on to the points decreases. And yes, we got some. Even though we are one of the best armies, we are definitely doing really, really well in the competitive meta, we still saw some points decreases. Now, not loads again. In fact, 3 in total. So the first one was the Exocrine. So the Exocrine got a points decrease, which did surprise me slightly, because the Exocrine saw very, very good, and I thought was fine at its points of, I think it was, so it was 275, I believe, or 270, sorry, 170. And it went down to 155. So 155, a really good decrease there. I think that's fantastic. And actually in Crusher Stampede, again, the Exocrine only got a boost. And maybe now you're considering taking maybe an Exocrine over those Hive Guard, or maybe you're going to take one Hive Guard, one Exocrine, but it definitely brings him back into flavour a little bit. So I think that's a good change, really helps us out, and the Exocrine is great. Toughness 8, if you haven't worked it out, guys, is the absolute break point for Crusher Stampede. You want to include as much toughness 8 into your list as possible, because that, combined with the other buffs, the invulnerable save, as well as the -1 damage, is your break point. That's what you want to look for. Toughness 7 is not as good with the -1 damage, just because you're wounding that much easier genuinely, so it doesn't help them as much. But the toughness 8 is a real break point, so it really works out well. So you want to be leveraging your toughness 8 monsters, and the Exocrine having that, and now points decrease, that really helps us out loads. Next up, we have got the T-Fex, so a similar decrease. So he went down to 160. Now it's 160 when you put on the 5-point flamer, but that's generally the way that you would. So I've kind of put it in there anyway. So yeah, it's a 160. You're never really going to take the Rupture Cannon. It's not very good still. And the Flesh Borer Hives, as much as I wish they were good, even with the stratagem, they're not super strong at the moment, but the Flamer is still really, really good. And again, it's a toughness 8 creature, so it really benefits from the Crusher Stampede. So definitely one to look at, and a really good points decrease. I think we'll see more of them on the table. And then last but nowhere least, and maybe my secret dark horse pick for this particular review, is the Haruspex. Now the Haruspex has been a forgotten unit and a forgotten monster for the Tyranid Codex, but actually, with the Crusher Stampede, starts to get a little bit tasty. There's definitely a bit of play in that unit. Again, you're looking at that magic toughness 8 to make sure you're maximising the effect of that -1 damage with a 5+ invulnerable save, which he really needs, which he didn't have before. Starts to make him an interesting proposition, and now he has gone down to 155 points as well, which is a decrease of 15 points. That's really, really good, and I think we might see some play. I'm definitely going to be trying him out, maybe a couple of them, to see how effective they do, because I think, you know, he's maybe not quite quick enough. He doesn't necessarily be quite as effective as the Dimmacharon, but at 155, I'm thinking I can kind of almost stack 2 in, toughness 8 rather than, you know, there's some play there. So I think we might see some see a few of these going into lists. Definitely my pick from these points decreases as something that maybe changes the shape of our list slightly. But that's all the points decreases. On the whole, I think we've done okay. I think some of the units that were obviously very good in the Dimmacharon and the Hive Guard have seen some moderate points increases, particularly in the Hive Guard. I think it's fine. In the Dimmacharon, maybe it's going to make him, you have to think a little bit twice about taking him, but on the whole, fair points increases. And the decreases definitely make some units that were already, well, particularly in the Exocrine and the T-Fex, 2 units that were really good already, and makes them even better with the points decrease. And then the Horospex, as I said, a slight little tweak there. He may be in, so we'll see. But let me know, and of course, if I've missed anything, if you found any points, increases or decreases, put them in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear. I couldn't find any even on upgrades and stuff like that, but maybe I've missed something. So as always, I always like to hear your thoughts. But until the next video, hopefully you've enjoyed this one, and I'll be back soon. Bye for now.